Good afternoon.
Hello. How you doing, Claudio?
I'm doing good.
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 Hard week.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. Hey, Gloria.
Hello.
Yeah. I'm like, oh, it's only week 2, but I'm feeling it. Last week I had all the energy, and now I'm like, okay, all right, here we go. Here we go. Hey, Rina. Hey, Alina. Hey, Suda.
Hi.
Cool. We got people coming in. All right, I'm going to get our PowerPoint set up here, and then I'll start to share my screen in just a second.
Hello.
Hey, Susanna. We'll see how many people are here. Now that people know they don't have to come, we'll see who's here. Kiss happy day.
Hello. How are you?
I'm okay. How you doing?
Good, thank you.
Good. So like usual, wait a few minutes, you guys, and then usually on for the weekly meetings, I like to wait at least 3, 4, 5 minutes, and usually we'll get started with the PowerPoint and all that stuff by 12:20 for sure. So who else is here? Susanna's here.
Good morning.
Hey Elizabeth, how you doing?
Good, thank you.
Good. All right, so we got 9 people. We'll see how it goes. How are you guys? We'll do a kind of check-in in a second here, but just generally, how are you guys? How are classes going? How are you feeling?
Feels not too bad. I kind of like it.
Yeah, okay, Elizabeth likes it. That's good.
I'm confused a little bit about this topic about translation from one language to another, and
Good. We get to talk about that for 2 hours today. So yeah, being a little confused makes perfect sense. But yeah, that's you'll see. I'll explain once we get started in a few minutes here. But yeah, that's what we're going to do today, is sort of introduce this idea, and especially start to introduce some of the way that Edith Grossman will talk about this in the book. And again, all of this is sort of getting us ready to prepare for the first writing assignment in a few weeks. Yeah. It'll start to make sense. You know how I do it, Irina. I like to introduce an idea, and then we talk about it for a few weeks, and then, it makes more sense eventually. At least that's the plan. That's the goal. We'll see. Hey, hola. Who else is here? Hangamag. Cool. Anything else, or we're gonna kind of talk about this in a few minutes here, but any Canvas issues or any other, like, just how to do the class questions that anybody had? All right. Yeah, Gloria, what's up?
I didn't find the record of our Zoom.
Oh, yeah. I'm gonna start to share my screen then. Oh, right. So if you go to, oh, there's a message. Let me just see if this is from. Oh, good. Okay. I'm checking my message to see if anybody was saying, what's going on? Where's the Zoom? What's going on? So here's our home page, right? So you can get here two different ways. But even if you're on your phone, right, you can click home on your phone, or if you're on the laptop, it just goes right to this page, right? And then click live support materials. And on that live support materials each day, right, here's the date for each of our classes. And then here's the PowerPoint. If you click this, you can preview. This is the notes and everything that I took in class, right? You can download those too. And then if you click Zoom recording, I put this in YouTube, you guys. Hold on, let me make sure. There we go. I put this in YouTube because for two reasons. One, I don't want Canvas to own our stuff. So nothing that we do or record like lives in Canvas, you guys. And because if you want to turn on closed captions, Google will do that for you automatically, right? So if you want to turn on closed captions, let me see here. My internet is already angry with me today. Oh, there it is. Oh, this is when you were in your breakout rooms. That's why nothing's happening. Okay, here we go. There we go. So you can access it right there from, you can also get there if you click on pages and view all pages. You can see a list of all the different pages that were put together for the class. You can get to the syllabus page, you can get to the live support materials page, but all the recordings will always be on this live support materials page. Recordings and PowerPoints from all of our weekly meetings here.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else have Canvas questions or how to do this class questions or anything like that? I know we've got a few more people who came in. Vlada, Zamida, good to see you guys. Mohammed, good to see you.
Hi.
Yeah, any other questions about Canvas or computers?
Yeah, I'm so sorry, Professor. I can't open my books. I try to buy from Amazon.
Yeah.
And I can't open because I can't understand where I can find it.
Are they?
I try to open where is my class schedule.
Yeah.
There is view, but I can't open.
If you need, depending on if it's like a personal question like this, Susanna, maybe if you can, especially if we may end a few minutes early today, if you can stay at the end, then I can look at what I can see your screen. But or if you could do office hours or stuff like that.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll do what I can to help you. Any other, so I can open this up now before we start to talk about the lecture kind of for today. What are other people having book issues? What's going on with the bookstore and stuff like that? Or again, any kind of like of the business stuff of doing this all online, I want to do up at the front in the beginning. So if you have a question or a concern or something's happening, let's talk about it now before we start to talk about the content for today. So any issues, anything going on with Canvas or books or anything like that?
Hello, Professor.
Yes, tell me.
My name is Najma Al-Turkmani. The last book, I didn't receive it right now, and you told me last Zoom, you will send to me copies about the paper for the first of the chapters or like that. And I sent to you mail for Chromebook. I need one.
So for Chromebooks, you're not the only student in this class and in the other classes. I sent an email to the Chromebook, the group that's giving out the Chromebooks, and I'm still waiting to hear. I'm doing everything that I can to make that happen, Najma. But it's a person above me and a person above them. So that I did send out a message saying some of my students need help. For the books, right? So at the end of class today, we're going to talk about why translation matters. If you have this book, great, because we're going to start to read this book. If you don't, I already scanned and uploaded the preface, introduction, and chapter 1. So everything you need to do for the lessons for this week, those copies, a scan of them will be in Canvas for you. I will show you where they live when I show you what the lessons are. So don't worry about that for now. I'm not going to send it to you one-on-one. It'll be in Canvas for you to read and find for each lesson, okay?
Okay, okay, thank you.
So preface, introduction, and chapter 1 are in Canvas.
Yes, I saw it, yeah.
Great. So that's for why translation matters. And this is where we're starting, right? So if anyone else is waiting for why translation matters, keep waiting, but don't worry. I'll make sure that you can read, I'll talk more about that at the end, but don't.
Okay, I called the college or the bookstore yesterday. They told me they didn't have this book and it didn't reach to them right now in the college, in the bookstore. They didn't have it.
Did they tell you to order on Amazon or what did they say?
I don't know. I ordered it from the bookstore, but in bookstore they didn't receive it until now.
Got
I
it.
don't
Okay.
know from where they got it.
Got it. Okay. Well, we'll keep waiting. I'll ask you about it next week. But like I said, but between now and next week, for the next week, everything you need from that book will be in Canvas for you. And I'll show you where at the end of class today.
I saw it. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, they're excited.
Hi, Professor.
Hi, everybody. How's that?
My name is Amira. I have the same problem with the Why Translation Matters book.
And I have the same solution. I'll show you at the end of class where the PDFs are, and you will be able to read them, and all will be well. All will be well.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
I have a question, Professor. When I record my name, it doesn't show on the record list. I didn't see that.
Yeah. If and this, I think a few other people sent me a text or an email yesterday briefly. So I'll write this in our slide for us as well. Let me move my screen here so I can see what I'm typing. If you need them. Yeah, so I have not started grading yet. I'm going to start to do that. We'll see if my brain is working later this afternoon because I have a 2-hour lab after this. If my brain is working, I might start to grade today. If not, then definitely Friday and Saturday. So if there's an issue or a problem with your name recording or any other assignment, I will see that in the next 2 or 3 days and I will send you a message. But for right now, Zamida, if you did your best to record your name and you're like, okay, I think I did okay, or I don't know what I did, just wait because I'm going to start to grade. And if there's a problem, I'll send you a message in Canvas and say, what's going on? Do you need help? So don't worry about it for right now.
Okay, thank you.
And that's for everybody. For any grade stuff, give me another couple days because I haven't even started grading at all. I do not want to scare you during the first week. As soon as people see a 7 out of 10, it's freak out time. So I'm going to wait to give points. We gotta get you reading a little bit first, okay? Any other questions about class stuff, class business before we introduce the topic for today?
Yes. Lesson 4, sorry. Lesson 4, the syllabus, it's not showing. I mean, it's there a quiz, right?
Yeah, so thank you, Ting. I think there were a few places. So I sent out an announcement so you could access the quiz if you clicked on the announcement. You can also find it if you click on quizzes. You can get there by clicking on quizzes. I know some people click on grades. You can see it when you click on, I see something different. Hold on, I'm going to go back. Because I see your grades, but when you click grades, you see all of the assignments. But you're right, it was not showing up for whatever reason in modules. I think I fixed this last night. So if you go to modules now, and let me go to student view. So again, remember, if you can't find something in modules, go to grades, go to assignments, go to quizzes, because one thing that's both good and bad about Canvas is the assignments live in different places. You can find them in these different pages. So like I said, sometimes that's good. You have choices. Sometimes it's confusing because you don't know where to go. But now it's here in modules. So you should see 4 and 5 in unit 1, module 1. And module 2, I did just publish. Everything's open 6, 7, 8, and 9. So this will be open for you guys as soon as you finish 4 and 5, as soon as you finish lesson 4 and 5. So yes, you're correcting it. It was, I saw that too. It was not there. It was in the 3 other places, but not in modules.
So there's no content for the lesson 4?
Lesson 4 and lesson 5 are all about the syllabus. So in lesson 4 and lesson 5, to answer those questions, you need to go to the course syllabus page here, and you can just read the syllabus, look at the syllabus to answer the questions in lesson 4 and lesson 5.
Okay.
So that's the contenting. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's not like you read a book and answer some questions, right?
Nope. That will be lesson 6, 7, 8, and 9. This one is read the syllabus or watch the video from last week where we talked about the syllabus and answer questions about that.
Okay. Thank you.
Of course. Anything else? Class business. Going once. Going twice. Gone. Okay. So again, if you have class questions or you need some help about the technology and computer stuff, we'll talk about that at the beginning of our weekly Zoom meetings like this. And of course, you can send me a text, send me an email, come to office hours. I only had 2 students who came to student hours today. So I'm there. I'm there if you have questions about that type of stuff too. All right. So here is what we're doing today. Here's our agenda. So we are here. It is September 3rd, 2020. It is September of 2020, you guys. Oh my goodness. So here's the plan. Here's the agenda. So we just did our sort of quick little check-in Q&A to ask questions about the class. We will do that at the beginning of every meeting. I have a warm-up activity sort of to get us thinking and starting to talk about some of the ideas that we're going to introduce today and then connect to in the reading for this week. We're going to explore this thing called language ideology, and we're going to talk about what ideology is and what it means, why it's important. Then we're going to talk about language translation and ideology. Like Edina was saying, Jeff, I'm a little bit confused. What's going on? Language translation. We will get there. That's what we're going to talk about. And then at the end, I want to make sure I leave at least 10 minutes, maybe 15 minutes to show you lessons 6, 7, 8, and 9, to talk about the book, to show you where the pages, the reading lives if you don't have the book yet, and how I suggest, or my advice for you for how to start reading this book. So let's get started. So we did our check-in. All right. So I want to start with this idea about an ideology. And an ideology, here's the definition. Ideology, it's a noun, right? And of course, you see the word kind of idea in the word of ideology. And of course, that's part of the definition here. An ideology is a set or a group of ideas and beliefs that a group of people have about a specific topic or idea. Now, you definitely see this word used in a lot of different ways for a lot of different reasons, right? So here are 2 sort of short example sentences. So that political party, right? So a group of, if you think about politics, people have strong ideas or beliefs. So that political party has a very strong ideology about religion. But this doesn't have to be about politics or religion. It could also be about things that are important in society or sort of cultural issues, right? So she has a very strong ideology about men and women should do. So maybe people have a strong gender ideology. People have a strong religious ideology. People have a strong political ideology. It means it's a group of ideas, beliefs, feelings about a specific topic. Does this kind of make sense? We're going to practice with this for today, but what an ideology is, does the definition there make sense to you guys? If so, maybe give a thumbs up or feeling good. Claudio says good, good. Okay, thank you guys. Thank you. So what we're going to talk about, so of course, if you take a political science class, or a history class, we could talk about political ideology, but this is a language class, right? So we're going to talk about language ideology. And when I say this phrase here, language ideology, it just means strong beliefs or feelings about a language, about one language specifically, about language in general, or maybe even about how language is used. So here's our short sort of warm-up activity, and you can unmute yourself and just, if you have an idea. My question is, can you think of a belief about language, an idea about language, an example of a language ideology that either you have or you know about, or someone, you know, I guess, yeah, what's an example of a language ideology? What are things people believe about language? I'll give you one as an example, and remember, I'm fine with silence. I can wait it out. But here's one, and maybe you can think about one from a city or a country that you know about or you've been to. I'll say, for example, in the U.S., I think there's a belief that I think that in the United States, most people have this belief, oh yeah, speaking only one language is normal. Now, for all of us in this class, I don't know if we agree with that ideology. I think most of us in many countries around the world, you know, it's very normal to speak 2 or 3 languages. So in the US, though, I think there's this language ideology in the US. Oh yeah, speaking only one language, that's normal, you know. Does that make sense?
No.
What do you mean, Ting?
Because you know, USA has a lot of people, they immigrate from the other countries. So it's like a mixing of a lot of countries people here. So how could they just like, to speak one language is normal?
Okay, I'm not saying I agree with this ideology, Ting, but I am saying I think many Americans feel this way. Do you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
I
Maybe
think
because the American people, they just speak English,
yes.
and they think English is the primary or priority language for all the people around the world.
English is the most important language in the world. I love it, right? So Ting, you just kind of gave us another example of a specific kind of language ideology, right? Which is, I think you're right. I think a lot of people in the US believe, and maybe in the UK too,
Mm-hmm.
is the best language. English is the normal language. Everyone should learn this language. Everyone speaks this language. So, and again, I'm not, actually, I'll just tell you, I don't agree with that belief, but I do think that that is a common ideology in the United States. I really do, right?
Yeah.
And for example, I don't know, I've worked with students from all over China, Ting, but I know that this comes up in China too, because Mandarin, you know, in China, the ideology is one language, right? One Chinese language. But of course, if someone from Beijing goes to Hong Kong, really those are 2 different languages, right? A linguist would say Cantonese and Mandarin are different languages, but there's this belief, there's this feeling from government, from culture, from history, right? That like, we have one language. So again, just example of different countries, different places, different situations. We have different ideologies, but we all do, whether we think about them a lot or not, we do usually have strong feelings about language and strong beliefs about language. So what I'm trying to do is to sort of see them, right? Is to sort of recognize them and explain them. So I love your example about in the US. Yeah, in the US, I don't need another language. I've already got English, and English is the best. Oh, okay. How about anybody else? I see Gloria's hand. I see Morok's hand. So let's go Gloria, Morok, and then Irina. And then I still see you guys, but let's go in order. Gloria, what you got?
In our culture, as in other cultures also, I think more languages you know, more educated and illuminated you are.
Great. Perfect example of a language ideology, Gloria. Fantastic, fantastic. Great, yeah, Marok.
Yes, Professor, I think people in the world needed one language, international language, and second language, native language.
Okay, so what I heard there is it's important, it's valuable. It sounds like one belief is it's good. It's important to have an international language, right? That was the first one you said. And then what was your second one about the native language? What was that idea? You're muted. You're muted. We can't hear you. I'm sorry. I think your microphone is off.
I'm Iranian.
Yes.
I can speak Farsi and English. English is international. Farsi is native
Okay.
languages. I think language is different as of culture. People can speak English without culture of.
Bless you, Nasser. I'm muting you. It's not personal. There's a connection between, so there was a bunch of interesting beliefs that I think we were hearing there. There's a connection between language and culture. Okay, I heard that. There's something different between native language and international language. Like, I think the belief there that I heard is that these are different things, right? The idea is that they are different and they do different things. And then there's a connection between language and culture. Make sure I spell this correct for you guys. Great. I love it. Yes, oh, Irina, I'm trying to remember who I saw. I saw Ola's hand too. Irina, please.
A language always changes.
Good. Does everyone agree with this? Language is always changing?
Repeat, please.
I was just asking the class if everyone agrees, because I'll just say I agree, but I think this is not an ideology everybody has. I think some people believe, no, like language should stay the same. It's pure, it's perfect, it's beautiful. But yeah, these are sort of two different possible ideologies, right, Irina? So language is always changing, right? Anyone, you want another example, Irina, or is that the one?
Sorry, Professor. What do you mean by language is always changing? Do you mean that the emotion or the how we can make the sentence be more strong, or what you mean by that?
Yeah.
Because the language, my language is Arabic. For that, the alphabet is didn't have the ability to change.
Yeah, Irina, what do you mean?
You mean by like what we understand from the sentence? Maybe the word put in place, but when we replace it to another place, the meaning is changing.
Yeah, what do you mean? What do you mean by language is always changing?
Our word is always improving, changing. New technologies is disappearing or is appearing. I don't know. Sorry, I'm nervous.
No, you're good.
New words is appears. I don't know how it says. Sorry.
Oh, you're saying. Well, I think if you're talking about technology.
Yes, new words come into language,
yeah.
And because our language is not the same like 100 years ago, because before people wouldn't know these words like we are.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, 20 years ago, the word iPhone did not exist, right?
Zoom.
Yeah, Zoom. 6 months ago, the word Zoom did not scare me, but now it's like, yes, perfect. I love it. Fantastic. And Najma, even if you disagree or that doesn't make sense, we're going to be talking about it for like 3 weeks, so don't worry about it too much. Ola, I saw your hand. You wanna add an opinion or talk about a language?
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's ideology, but in Ukraine, Ukrainian believe that Ukrainian language is the most melodic language in the world.
Beautiful. Thank you. I love it. Perfect. I love it. Cool. Anybody else?
Yeah.
Perfect example. Let's see, Susanna, Masum. Let's hear from 3 or 4 people. I see your hand too, Gloria, so I won't forget. But Susanna, go ahead.
Okay, sometime people thought that one language is enough, but life dictate people how they have to do. Because I grew up in Armenia, I thought that for me Armenian it's enough, but we live in Soviet Union, and we must teach Russian, and from 5th grade we have to learn foreign language, German, French, or English, and we didn't have any choice. And yeah, government, it's ideology, language ideology sometimes dictate government.
I love that. Fact, I love dictate. Dictate, like decide, choose, determine. I love it. So yeah, governments, countries, and schools, and you could say, we could say and or schools, affect, dictate the way people learn and use a language. Yeah, I love it. I don't even know if that's that's just a fact, Susanna. But then of course, when you think about that, of course, the government, if the government is making students learn French, for example, that is saying something about an ideology. That's saying something about, okay, the government believes for some reason, okay, French is important, right? Or whatever. You know, if in the United States, if the government of California, let's just say California, had an ideology that every student in California should speak 2 languages, well then, we could make bilingual education a requirement in California. So that would be connected to a government's ideology or a country's ideology or school's ideology. So I love that connection there too, Marina, because I'm going to add one there that.
Okay, but here is only one issue. When you have choice or you don't have any choice.
Right, I love it. Yeah, I love it. I was going to say issues of power, right? Because if you don't have power, you don't get to choose. If you do have power, you might get to choose, or you make other people choose, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Susanna. Who did I see? Masum, where'd you go? Oh, there you are on my screen. Yes, tell me.
I think language is a thing for human to understanding each other.
Cool. I love it. That's a perfect example, right? And again, maybe someone else would agree, disagree. Someone else could say, no, language for is expression. Language is for talking about how you feel or for art or something. But here's an example of an ideology. Language is used for humans to communicate with each other or to share information. I love it. Gloria, I'm coming back. What you got? You got one more?
Yes. I don't know if this for this topic or no, but I think whenever you are, wherever you are, wherever you live, you shouldn't forget your native language.
Great. And even under that one, we're going to see some examples today. I have 2 examples, and then we're going to start to talk about the book, right? Because why I'm doing this is the book is all about some of the ideologies, some of the beliefs around translation, right? Is translation good? Is it possible? How does it work? What's going on? And I think underneath those questions, when we start to think about culture, language, and translation, which is going to get us ready for our first cultural narrative essay, if you want to think about translation, it's really good to think about language and the feelings and beliefs you have about language. So even underneath Gloria's there, if a person leaves their home country, they should not forget their native language. I think there's even another connected ideology, like there is something important or special about a person's first language, right? Because if you want to keep it, if you want to hold on to it, even if you move to a new place, then that implies, that sort of says, oh, there's something important, there's something meaningful about that first language, right? So maybe the language you speak in your home or the language you speak when you were a child, right? We believe, we have this ideology, it's very important, it's a part of me, it's a part of my culture, it's a part of my history, whatever, right? And that changes for person to person. That changes from person to person. Okay, we're gonna move on to look at some examples, but anyone have one last, does this make sense? If it does, give me thumbs up. Examples of language ideologies. Okay, cool. So you guys did a great job coming up with examples of language ideologies. So what I want to do now though, is to look at two examples, right? Because what we're going to do for really the first, I don't know, like 5 or 6 weeks, when we start to read Why Translation Matters, and when we move to A Map is Only One Story, what we're going to start to do is read something and then practice asking ourselves, okay, what are the beliefs about language in this story, right? What does this author believe about language? Is it important, not important? About translation, is it good or bad? Is it useful or not useful? Possible or not possible, right? That's kind of what we're doing. So the way I want to do that again is to show you two examples and do this together. So the first thing I'm going to do is can you guys still see my screen here? We're looking at a web page now. Okay, cool. So one thing that you're going to see when you start to read Why Translation Matters is that the author, again, Edith Grossman, she talks about this story of, I'm going to type this here, this. Hold on, I don't want you to read this yet. Okay, the Tower of Babel. Has anyone seen this or heard about this or know what this is? The Tower of Babel. If you do not, that is okay. The Tower of Babel, it's a Bible story, right?
Yes,
Oh, yes, exactly. Or for people who are Jewish, this is a part of the Torah as well, because this is a part of the Old Testament. So what the two examples from today are actually both about language ideologies and religion, because religion has huge beliefs and huge things to say about language. And for us, you know, I grew up in the Catholic Church, so I grew up reading this story a lot. And I was thinking about this over the summer, that this story, very famous, very, very famous, and it has I think there's a lot of examples of ideology about different beliefs that are going on in this story. And it's such an important story. It's such an important part of sort of how the ideas about language grew up or developed in the West, right, in Europe and in the United States and stuff like that. That we talk about this all the time. And in the textbook, in the book that I'm having you guys read, in Why Translation Matters, she uses this example of Babel to keep referring to it, to say, oh, this very famous story and what it meant, and et cetera, et cetera. So you don't need to know this story, or if it's your first time hearing this story today, that's totally fine. All you need to know is, so this story is at least 2,000 years old, right? Written at least 2,000 years ago, and it's been a big part, I think, of sort of Western culture. So here's what I want you to do. On your screen, I'm just going to project the story, right? These are the words of the story. I'm going to just read it for us out loud, right? You can read along, follow along with me while I read. And when you are listening and reading, all I want you to be thinking and to be ready to talk about with a small group is, what language ideologies, what beliefs about language do you see in this story? Okay, so I want to be clear, this is not a religious thing. I'm not saying this is true, this happened, this is right or wrong or anything. I'm just using it to show as an example of how strong these ideologies about language can be. Make sense? Read along, listen, and ask yourself, what ideologies do I see? Thank you, Mohammed. We good? Okay, here we go. So here we go. In this translation, by the way, up here, I'm reading from Common English Bible. This website, by the way, you can see all these different translations, all in English. All of these are Bible in different translations of English, or you can translate it into Spanish, or you can translate it into any other different language. So again, just keep that in mind, right? What we are reading right now is already a translation. So on the origin of languages and cultures. So here's the story. All people on the earth had one language and the same words. When they traveled east, they found a valley in the land of Shinar and settled there. They said to each other, "Come, let's make bricks and bake them hard." They used bricks for stones and asphalt for mortar. They said, "Come, let's build for ourselves a city and a tower with its top in the sky. And let's make a name for ourselves so that we won't be dispersed over the earth." Dispersed means broken up, moved into different parts, right? From one into many different small groups. Then the Lord came down to see the city and the tower that the humans built. And the Lord said, "There is now one people, and they all have one language. This is what they have begun to do. And now all that they plan to do will be possible for them. Come, let's go down and mix up their language there, so they won't understand each other's language." Then the Lord dispersed them from there over the earth, and they stopped building the city. Therefore, it is named Babel, because the Lord mixed up the language of all the earth, and from there the Lord dispersed them all over the earth. That's it. That's the whole story. Now, this word Babel, right, in the Bible, this says the Tower of Babel. This story is still so important that that word Babel, it's a verb that we use right now in English today. And if you say someone is babbling, it means they're talking in a way that doesn't make sense. Their language doesn't have meaning. You can't understand what they're saying. Jeff is just babbling, 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 babbling. He's not even making sense, right? So this word is still a very important sort of vocabulary word in English. So before I put you in small groups, I just want to make sure, let's talk about it real quick. So what are the facts? Before we get to the ideology here, I want to make sure we all understand the events in this story. So what happened at the beginning? What was going on at the beginning of the story? Gloria, what's up?
People had one language and the same words.
Perfect, love it. At the very beginning, Gloria is exactly right. Everybody had same language, same words. Good. Then what happened? Yes, who's talking?
Yeah, Najma.
Yes, please, Najma. Then what happened?
After they asked the together or the people with them to build building specific with them.
Yep, this word, tower, right? They built that.
Yeah.
So all people, one language, same words. The people built a tower, right? They built a city and a tower. And I know you know, Najma, but a small tower or big tower?
I think big tower.
Yeah, big tower or like really big tower?
To the sky.
But yeah, I was gonna say,
reach to the sky. Yeah,
yes,
big,
that's right.
big.
Really big tower or like all the way up to heaven type of tower, you know?
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Okay. All people, one language, same words. They came together, they built a city, they built a very, 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 very tall, high tower. Then what happened in the story?
Lord saw this and decided to mix up them.
Perfect.
That they couldn't build this so big tower.
Love it. Perfect.
And dispersed them.
Good. Perfect. There's that. Yeah. Little vocab word, dispersed, right? Dispersed. Exactly. Okay. So everyone, one language, same words. They built a city. They built a tower, very, very tall tower. The Lord came down and he said, no, no, no. Dispersed them over the planet. And then at the very end, what happened? We have one language or more than one?
More. A lot of languages.
That's it, right? So, and again, just so we're clear on what happens in the story before we start to take out some ideologies, some beliefs, what happens in the story at the beginning? There's only one language. The people worked together to build a very large tower up to heaven. The Lord stopped them from building the tower. The Lord created more than one language, and the Lord scattered or dispersed, broke people up all over the world, right? That's it. That's the story. That's what happened. What I want you to do now is I'm going to put you in small groups, and I want you to, first in the chat, I'm going to copy and paste this link so that you can look at this, the words, the story, while you're in your groups. And when you talk to each other in your groups, I just want you to think about that question, right? What kind of ideologies do you think are in this story? Make sense? How about let's do one example together so that I want to make sure everybody understands what I'm asking you to do. Somebody, anybody, what is one example of an ideology, a belief about language that you think you see in this story? Elizabeth, tell me.
So the first ideology was that as long as people have one common language, they could do a skyscraper. They could build up something huge.
Love it. Perfect. And fantastic, fantastic. And you could even, and we could add or change even some of the words Elizabeth used, but I think the idea, the ideology is perfect, right? There is this feeling of, okay, if everyone speaks the same language, or if everyone could speak the same language, they could do kind of, you know, amazing, powerful, huge, big, important things, right? Definitely. I think that belief is definitely in there, right? Cool. Does that make sense, you guys? Okay, I'm going to put you in groups. I want you to talk to each other. Elizabeth gave us an example of one. There are definitely more than one. So talk to each other about what kind of ideologies you think you see. I'm going to open these groups up here. Let's do 3 or 4 people. Let's do 4 or 5 people. Let's do 3 or 4 people. Okay, you're going to get an invitation to join your room. Go ahead and click join. Talk to each other for about 10 minutes, and then I'll bring you back and we'll talk about it together, okay? All right, there you go.
I'm sorry, Professor. My computer just died and everything
That's okay. I can
went out.
do you want me? I can send you back to your room. Do you know do you remember a person's name you were talking to?
Actually, no. Yes, I tried to come in from my phone, but
That's
it was
okay.
not work well.
How about this? Okay, did you try and click?
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Suda.
Hi, Professor.
Did you guys finish up or did you get kicked out or what happened?
No, just we are done.
Okay, I'll bring everybody back in just a second. If you want to, maybe 2 or 3 minutes. So if you want to, you can just wait for a second.
Okay, here we go.
Professor,
Yes.
in your opinion, do you think all the people in this world it's going to be better if we have the same languages, the same language, or do you think this good? It's a lot of different kind of language.
My ideology? No, I think the world is better for difference. I think that really human beings are at their best when different people learn how to learn from each other and work together. Even though we are different, we come together and create something new together. I think that's a really cool thing about being a human being. Yeah, I do think we'll talk about it. We'll talk about it. I mean, I understand. I think, again, the symbol or the idea in the story, it makes sense is if when we speak the same language, of course, it feels easier, right? Like, I mean, I think Najma was saying, I know nothing about Arabic. So it's very difficult if you have an English speaker who doesn't know Arabic, an Arabic speaker who does not know English. It's hard to work together, true. But so I understand that, like speaking the same language can make things easier, but I do think we lose things too if we never talk to people who are different ideas, different languages, and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
What do you think,
I think all the languages are beautiful.
I think so too.
Yeah, I respect all the languages.
I'm with you. I think so too.
It's a lot of history.
Yes, absolutely. And we're gonna, yeah. Well, we'll see. You'll see as we continue. So people are coming back. Say what, Gloria?
I was talking with my kids.
Oh, got it. Okay. All right. Let's see. I think we're waiting for just one person to come back. All right. So Claudio came back a little bit early and he was asking, Jeff, what do you think? Or what are some of your opinions? And I'll talk about that for sure, but I want to hear from you guys. So please, at least a few people who want to share, what did your group talk about? What did you share with your group or anything? What came up when you were talking to each other? Najma.
Yeah. In my group, we talk about because we have a lot of languages in the world, and we came from the countries to America that talked by English language. That will be very difficult to us to understand or to analyze the words and how we can change it or replace it because each word has meaning different.
Okay, definitely. So you're kind of going a little bit ahead, Najma, because we're going to talk about our feelings, our beliefs, or ideas about translation. But what about just in this story, right? What kind of ideologies were in this story? Did you guys?
The ideology is in this story was very. The word is what I don't have the vocabulary to read so or to say. I think it's easy to understand.
Okay.
Easy to understand, يعني, because that with just one place or a group of people before they spread in the world.
Good. I think this is kind of an idea that I think this is connected to what we were talking about before. Like Elizabeth was talking about, okay, if there's only one language, people can do more or build something bigger or taller. I think Elizabeth said skyscraper. But I think what you said, Najma, it's similar, but it's different is it's easier, right? That things are easier when everybody speaks the same language, or if you all have the same words, that can make things feel easier, right? So that's perfect. That's definitely, I think that ideology is definitely in this story. Great. What other ideologies, what other beliefs about language do we see? I see Elizabeth, and then Gloria, and then we'll see after that. Elizabeth, go ahead.
So I wanted to add that we're all equal, despite the fact that we have different languages because we came from the same place.
Ooh, interesting. Okay. Interesting. Interesting. Cool. Interesting word. I love it. Okay. Very cool. Great. What, Gloria, what else?
We was with the same. We were in the same group. One moment.
Uh-oh. They're in trouble. They are in trouble. Uh-oh.
Sorry for that. We were in the same group with Liz, and we had a lot of ideas. The first one was this one. The second was that the more languages you know, more you will understand.
The more what? You mean just more knowledge, more information? The more what you will understand?
And other people.
Okay, the more languages you know, the more different people you can understand. Okay, I'm going to say that's by the end of the story, right? Great. You got one more, Gloria?
Yeah, we were thinking about translations.
Okay.
That translations can connect people.
Okay. That's kind of connected to this one that you were talking about there too, Gloria. That's really nice. Great.
And I have more, one more like religious thing.
Sure, let's go.
That let me see it. The one language that can unite people is the language of God.
Wow. And even if, and even connected to this one is something, again, like there is some kind of connection between language and God or spirit or whatever, right? Like, even if we're saying that idea that there's some connection, there's some, and again, we're going to talk about Islam next. This idea that there's a connection between language and God is very common in languages and religions all over the world. So really cool, interesting idea. Other ideologies from other groups. What else did you guys talk about? What other beliefs did you see in this story? Yes, Mohammed.
In order to be in separate groups, the people, and discuss, and once the people are separated, so they will have different, they will be speaking in different languages, and they will have different cultures.
Ooh, okay. Okay. If people have different languages, they will have different cultures. That's kind of the idea, Mohammed? Perfect. Love it. Again, the connection between language and culture is kind of like all I think about all day, every day. So I like that. I love that. Very cool. How about one or two more?
Sorry, Professor. That happened to us right now because I with my brothers or sisters, we are from the same home, the same city, the same country. Right now, each one of us in the another country. One of my brothers in Germany, one in Sweden. I'm in America. Each one has a new language, and he try to development the new language.
And do you feel like
story like the Tower of Babel ideology?
Yeah, I love it. I'm imagining, Najma, when it's time to write your first essay, you can write all about this, because I wanted to ask, okay, do you feel like if you have a brother or a family in Sweden, family in Germany, and you're in the US, then people are learning new languages, right? So if someone's learning German and German culture, then that's different than you learning English in California. Then that's different than someone else learning I don't know. Everyone in Sweden speaks English, I think, but maybe learning Swedish or learning English, I don't know, in Sweden.
Yeah, but they have language specific with them.
Yes, totally. And even though we were talking about international language, I think you were too, Najma. English is definitely an international language, but Swedish culture is very different than California culture. Very, very different, for sure, for sure. Great, I love it. So Najma agrees with you, Mohammed, saying language and culture go together. Yeah. Okay. Anybody else? Maybe one or two more, and then we'll look at our second example here. I'll say this before I ask for one more. When you think about,
I can say in this story, in this case,
yeah,
when people know only one language, knowing one language can push people to do crazy things, no good things.
Okay, go on. I think this is connected to this idea of power that came up earlier. Go on about this, because Irina, always you're sort of like, you can predict what I want to say. If I ask you to think about ideology and you're not sure, remember an easy way to do that, to start, is, okay, ideology is not this simple, you guys, but think about good and bad, right? Okay, does this story say that learn only one language is good or bad? Does it say that people speaking different languages is good or bad? Again, that's not, ideology doesn't mean just good or bad. But if I ask you to think about ideology and you're like, oh my God, what is Jeff asking me? What is going on? I don't understand. Then just think, okay, what is this story saying about what's good and bad, right and wrong? That's a really common way for human beings to think about ideologies. So Irina, you were saying one language can be bad, right?
In this story, it showed us because people did crazy thing.
Yeah. Yeah, and again, you're starting to see like how some of these beliefs, some of these ideologies go together, right? So if you think about, okay, at the beginning, all the people spoke one language, they did maybe too much, they had too much power. I think there's this connected ideology that language and power are connected, right? And of course, all of you guys know this, and because I lived in another country, I know that same feeling. When you don't know, and we know this is just true, right? Language and power, because if I went to Colombia and I did not speak Spanish, you don't feel like you have any power. You can't ask a question, you can't understand, you can't get help. I mean, this feeling when we don't know the language of the place where we are, we do feel very powerless, right? Because we don't know what to do or what to say or how to feel. And I think, of course, for many of you guys in different places, different contexts, different moments, I think we all know this one way or another, right? Maruk, you want to add to this?
Professor, I want to ask you,
yes,
if you want to talk with 20 countries in the world, all world, you want to talk with 20 people at 20 countries. If you talk English, all country understand you. Understand?
Power, absolutely. English is a very powerful language, right? English is a very powerful language. No doubt about that. No doubt.
Yes. Even I see a lot of different flower. It's very beautiful. A lot of language is very beautiful.
I agree.
But all people in the world needed talk with one language because needed all world international language.
That's Maroc's language ideology. I understand. I think people believe. I think that's totally fine. I'm not saying that's good, bad, right, or wrong. I understand. I totally understand that. I think I'll just say for me, I get nervous when we have one language. Maybe English is too powerful because what happens is people stop using these other languages that less people speak. And this happened with French. You know, French used to be the language of the whole world at one time in history. I know Iran, the history of French in Iran is, you know this for being from Iran. So I think you're right. It's good, right? That's what we're saying here is there's good and bad. That's why it's not only good or bad. There's good and bad for this kind of international language.
Another thing, please.
Yes, sure.
Sorry. I think all world needed be unity, talk about one language. I think all country needed learn English in school with children, because children when is small, young, can learn English language better.
Yeah.
Maybe all school needed learn international language, maybe be English.
Okay, maybe.
Uh-huh.
maybe. Perfect. Good examples, right? Good examples of language ideology, both our own personal ideologies and some of the ones from the story. Okay, so I want to do one more example because I think the example that I'm going to show you here, it connects to some of the ideas we've talked about with the Tower of Babel, but it's different, right? And that is from Islam, like I was saying. So again, I want to be very clear here. I am not an expert on Islam. Everything I know about Islam and Muslim culture comes from just talking to students like you guys, right? And talking to one of my most important teachers in my life. Some of you already know this. His name's Dr. Siddiq Popal. He's from Kabul, Afghanistan. He's the one who taught me how to teach English. He was the first person to hire me. So I got to talk to him, and he taught me a lot about Muslim culture, and he worked in his mosque, and I got to share and go spend time with him and his family. So I know, so I want to say I only know like this much. I think that's more than a lot of Americans, but I only know like this much. But one thing I do know is Arabic and Islam, right? Arabic and especially the Quran are so important, right? They go together in a very, very, very important way. So for people who don't know anything about Islam, we're going to watch a really short video where we're going to hear a man talking about this connection between the Quran and language. And I'll also say to my Muslim students listening, right, the man speaking, he's going to be from Saudi, very specific type of Arabic, very specific type of Islam, right? So I know that, right? The Arabic that they speak in Saudi is different than the Arabic in Egypt, is different than the Arabic in Palestine, just like the English in California is different from London, is different from Australia, right? So again, the video I'm showing you, I want to be clear, it doesn't represent all of Muslim culture. It's just one person sort of talking about their opinion and their experience, okay? But we're gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna play the video. It's only 2 or 3 minutes. And the same thing I want you to do is watch the video and listen. What kind of ideology do you hear this man saying in the video? Okay, what kind of beliefs do you hear about language in the video? I'm going to turn on my computer's sound. And for people who don't hear a lot of Arabic and maybe don't know this accent, I'll put on the closed captions. So if you want to read what he's saying, you can. Okay, so first I'm just gonna test. I'm gonna start to play. If you can hear the sound, will you just give me a thumbs up? I'm gonna start to play.
I can't read Arabic, so
Okay, I see some thumbs up, so we're gonna go back to the start. I'm gonna turn on the captions. All right, what ideologies do you hear in this video? Here we go.
says in her question, I can't read Arabic, so I read the Quran in English. Is it okay? In Arabic we say ما لا يدرك كله لا يترك جله. Whatever you cannot achieve as a whole, at least achieve some of it. So basically, in order to communicate with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala via reading His word, if you don't know Arabic, it doesn't mean that you should not try to read it or understand it in any other language. Whenever Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam sent letters to the kings, to the rulers of other empires and societies, there was interpreters to translate to them the word of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They did not wait until they learn Arabic. So there will be two parallel means to achieve comprehending the message of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to us. Number one, innocently read it in your mother tongue. Read the meaning of this message in your mother tongue. Number two, work on learning the basic Arabic, which will make you able to read it. And also with regards to the meaning of this ayat, there have been many translations to some of the best tafasir. Tafasir is plural of tafsir, which is the interpretation of the Quran. Such as, for instance, the abridged tafsir of Ibn Kathir is now available in English. And since you sent to us the question in English, I would highly recommend for you to get a free copy if you want to. It has been published by Darus Salam Publication, and I pray for these guys that they have made this tremendous effort to make it affordable and easy for English speakers to understand the word of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through the tafsir of Ibn Kathir in 10 volumes. And it is available as well in their online store, and it's available for free online if you'd like to download it, so that you understand the meaning of what you're reading. Along with, there are many programs, online and distant learning programs to learn Arabic. I was so happy and pleased to see some families in Japan, the other part of the world. Japanese reverts, يعني, they were not exposed to Arabic or any other civilization other than theirs. Yet, their kids memorize Quran, study the Quran in Arabic. How? On Skype. Some teachers whom they have never met in their life, they teach them distant learning and tutoring via Skype and other means of social media and so on. So it's very much affordable. If you attend 15 minutes every day, I promise you, between 6 months to a year, you'll be able to read the Quran perfectly, inshallah.
Huda TV's social media sites are the best way to contact us from anywhere around the world.
Okay. What did we hear? I just want to do it in the big group here, but what different language ideologies did we hear in this video?
Okay, I will say my thoughts. I think he want to show that if you want to learn any languages, you can find the ways to learn that language. It's very important if you want to achieve anything. Learn Quran or learn Bible or teach anything, you can find the ways.
I love it, Susanna. Perfect, right? So again, I love that Susanna went first, because again, both of my examples here are from religious books or people talking about religion, but I love that Susanna's example of ideology wasn't even about religion. It did say, hey, if you want to learn a new language, you can do it, right? There are ways to do it. And I'm thinking of when Marok was saying, yes, it's of course easier, much easier to learn when you're a child. It's much easier. But I think sometimes I hear people saying, oh, it's too hard, I'm too old. But I think you're right, Susanna. In this video, he's saying you can do it. Anyone can do it. There's a way to do it. You can learn a new language, right? Absolutely. Absolutely. Good. Perfect. Perfect. What other ideologies did we see in the video? There's a lot.
Maybe if you want to understand a new language with people to speak, you can find ways to learn it.
Yeah, in this example, he was talking about distance learning, online, Skype. Great. Yeah, that was definitely in
Yes,
there too, Alina.
correct.
Perfect. What else?
Professor?
Yes, tell me.
Professor? When I understand from the video that when the person talks, that when the person who speaks with English need to or want to read Quran,
Yeah.
he should read it by his native language.
Yes. Okay. And yes, I love it. Thank you, Najma. Now can you go a little deeper? So what does that say about an ideology about translation? Does he think that translation is good or bad or possible or impossible? Or what do you think it says about his feelings about translation?
The translation will be lose a lot of meaning of the sentences by ayat from the Quran Kareem, Al-Quran Sharif.
Yes. So translation will lose meaning of the original, but should people still do it? Should people still try?
Yes, he should try because he has a lot of tafsir book like Ibn Kathir. He can use it to understand the meaning of the specific ayah.
Okay, great. And I kind of added, thank you, Nashma. And I added another one at the beginning, right? He was saying, reading a translation is better than nothing. So there's not, some people you're going to see in the book that we start to read, right? You're going to see some people say, kind of have this argument, right? Translation is not possible. It's a waste of time. Don't do it, right? So don't even try because you won't get it at all. In this one, at the beginning, he says, okay, we say, doing something is better than nothing. So start with reading the translation. And I think, my opinion, underneath that, there's an ideology that, okay, translation can be good, can be useful, can be helpful, can be important, right? Okay, how about maybe one or two more examples that we saw in this video, other things that came up? Yes, Liz.
That learning languages is affordable.
Okay, nice.
Like you mentioned that they have a free sample online.
Nice, yeah.
Download.
Good, yeah, his name's Huda. He's got a lot of social media presence. He's got a website. He knows what he's doing, yeah. Learning languages is affordable. Maybe I'll add one of nowadays. Yeah. Cool. Great. Nice. Really nice. Who else? Yeah, Gloria.
And the ideology about the 15 minutes.
Yeah, go on. Say more.
Spend 15 minutes per day for the language and you will achieve a good results. At least 15 minutes.
Oh, very specific. And yeah, that was definitely in there, Gloria. Very nice. Who else did I see? Did someone have their hand up?
This me.
Yes, please, go ahead.
Okay. We don't not need to learn their language to read another books. I think good translator can help me and other people because if translator be good, I think that's very, very important for another people because we can read. For example, one message, the name is Baha'u'llah. Baha'u'llah has about 100 books. And all books translated with more of language in the world. If search in the computer, I can find them. All people can use with own language. Translator very help about this problem.
Love it. I love it. Right. And remember, for people, maybe other people already know this, but of course, this is not just for Islam, right? I mean, we were just reading where the Tower of Babel, of course, the Bible was written in many different languages, but of course, we were reading an English translation, and the Catholic Church, at least, you know, everything in the Catholic Church was in Latin until the late 50s and 60s, right? I mean, the Catholic Church wouldn't let, you know, you couldn't have Mass in Ukrainian or in Russian or in English or in Spanish until 60, 70 years ago. So this idea of, okay, pure, perfect, the true language is the best. That's a really common idea for many people, many cultures, many countries, many religions through time. And then there's also this idea of, no, like translation is good, translation helps, translation is possible. So we have these two ideas, and they kind of go up and down. Sometimes they fight, sometimes people agree or disagree. But I love, Marok there did a nice job saying, yeah, like there is this, even underneath this video, he was sort of saying there can be something good from translation. It's possible, especially like you said, if it's a good translation. I do think that's an important idea as well. Does anyone, one or two more people, anybody want to add to this before we start to connect? I start to connect this idea to the book, and I show you how you'll see all of these ideas in the reading. But anyone else about the video we just watched?
Just to get to the topic, do you know, guys, how many translations a Bible has?
Let's see.
It's about 700 translations.
Is that right?
Yeah, about 700, I believe. You can check it.
Yeah.
There you go.
If Google is correct, the Bible has been translated into 698 languages.
Let's see, there were 1,500 in other languages. Okay, so it's just.
And I just did the same. It says the Quran has been translated into 114 languages, right? So again, even for Islam, and even for a book as important as the Quran, which again, the idea is, like I said, Arabic is very important that the Quran be in Arabic. Even in that situation, you have 114 languages, right, translated for the Quran. So yeah, so this idea about translation, like Irina at the beginning of class was like, okay, what's going on with translation? I'm a little confused. It's true, it's a big idea, right? It really is, because it's kind of, I think, translation kind of, it gets to a big idea about what it means to use language, what it means to make connections to other human beings, and okay, can you translate meaning from one language into another language? And then we start to connect to I think, Mohammed's connection to culture, which is such an important idea. So yeah, it's a big topic. We're not going to fix this or solve this in this class, but we do get to think about it and play with these ideas, because I think, for me, I think talking about culture and diversity without talking about language, I think you miss a lot. And I think a lot of the times in the US, when we talk about culture, we talk about food, and we talk about holidays, and we talk about religion. We talk about a lot of stuff, but we don't talk always about language. And I think the feelings we have about language are so important. Like, I forget, was it Elena or Ola was saying, maybe it was Ola, Ukrainian's the most melodic language in the world. Now, maybe that's true, maybe it's not true, but I do think it's important that people in Ukraine think that and believe that and feel that, right? And I know for English speakers are, you hear about Shakespeare all the time, the language of Shakespeare, it's such an important language. Shakespeare wrote in English. So, I mean, we have these strong feelings and strong connections to our language. So that's why we're talking about this in the context of translation. So I'm going to introduce the textbook to you briefly, and then I'll show you what we're doing, and then we'll see what time it is. So in this book, Why Translation Matters, what you're going to start to see, and as I say on the slide here, is Edith Grossman, when we start to do MLA formatting this semester, you'll see it's pretty common for us in an academic class to just use the author's last name, right? That's how you'll talk about these writers when you're writing. So Grossman shares some very strong language ideologies in the preface, the introduction, and chapter 1. So some of the ideologies, some of the beliefs that you will read about, she definitely believes one, good translation is possible, right? Now, some people might even say it's not even possible, can't be done, forget about it, don't do it. She does not agree. She says it's possible. She also says that translation has been a very important part of human history, and she'll talk about that at the beginning. She also says that translation is a way to keep language fresh and healthy. Again, I'm thinking of Irina saying languages change, so new words come in, new words go. I think that Edith Grossman even goes the next step. It's not just that, okay, we have the word iPhone now because someone created or invented the iPhone. No, she's sort of saying translation introduces new words and new ideas, new parts of culture into different places for different people. And that human beings need translation in order to grow and to learn from each other. So again, thinking about Mohammed's idea about culture, so one way that people learn about other cultures and that cultures change is through translation. So again, just we won't do a full 10 minutes on this, but my question down at the bottom is just, what do you think about these ideologies? To begin with, I'm just going to ask you guys, do you agree or disagree, or why not? You'll get to read about why she thinks this way. But when you just see these, the four that I put on the screen for you, good translation is possible. Translation is a very important part of human history. Translation keeps a language fresh and healthy, and that human beings need translation to grow and learn from each other. Just quick thoughts and feelings. Agree, disagree, why not? Ruba, thumbs up. Do you want to say why, or just you want to give thumbs up?
Professor, what about electronic translation?
Yeah, you're talking about the future, but I saw Ruba, I'll come back because I think you're talking about like Google Translate, right? Yeah, let's talk about electronic translation in a minute here, but Ruba, what do you think?
Translation gives more people a chance to understand what's written, but the only thing we cannot translate it is the Quran, because we translate the meaning, not the ayah, just the meaning. Because in Arabic we have I don't know how to say it in English, but it is more than a grammar and advanced grammar. It is said in Arabic, nahj and balagha. So it's just like when when someone compare his writing with another one who is very professional in writing. So this is how Quran is written, and nobody can written like this writing can write.
Love it. So Ruba, perfect. So Ruba's saying good translation is possible, translation is important, and maybe some things can't be translated, right?
Yes.
So
but
both,
we can translate the meaning, because in translation we cannot reach the level of that reading, writing.
Cool. Okay, thank you, Ruba. I love hearing your opinion. Yes. Yes, go ahead, please.
Professor, one translator I saw in the computer, in the conference, two people put this one, talk with, what's the name? Please talk about this.
That's just translation. I mean, like when you think of, and in fact, when you start to read the book this week, the author, she'll say, okay, when I think of when she was young, when she was a university student, she says she had a dream or she had a vision that translation was like what happens at the United Nations. So it's like volume down, but just so you can see, let's see if we can get some video, that at the United Nations, right, like this, that you have everybody in a room, right? One person is talking, and like you're saying, someone maybe has like an earpiece in their ear, and someone's listening and then translating in real time. So I don't know, I don't even know if there's a perfect word or vocabulary word for this, but this is the idea of, so for example, great question. Yeah, so I was just thinking, so one thing that's true about ideology, well, I think this is just true, but it is a belief at the same time. There are these different types and ways of translating. So literary translation, which is mostly what we were talking about and what we will be talking about, which is, okay, you're reading something, you're reading a poem, you're reading a story, you're reading a book that was written in one language, but you're reading it in a different language, right? Or
Professor.
a live, oh yeah, 1 second, I'll come right to you. Or a live translation, which I think you're saying like at the United Nations, right? Okay, someone's listening, they're listening to a person speaking in French. The person listening speaks French and English. Okay, I'm listening to the French, and then I'm changing and I'm translating to English for another person. Think about this in political situations, the presidents or whatever. And then you have right now in 2020, you can copy and paste, 20 pages from Russian and put it into Google Translate and translate it in English or English into Russian or whatever, right? So there are these different types of translation. I think that's an important idea as well. So really, really nice. And was it Claudio who wanted to say something?
Yes.
Yes, please tell me.
I want to share something with you. 2 days ago, I had a medical evaluation for the court because I'm temporary disability because I had an accident at my job.
Yeah.
And when we went to court, I asked for an interpreter because I understand what they say, but when I go to court, I ask for an interpreter because there's a specific word sometimes I don't understand. To be very sure. And the interpreter 2 days ago, she was not very good because I understand what they say, and she wasn't translate what I tried to say. So this is very important. Sometimes one word can change a lot.
I agree completely.
And in that case, the legal something I had to do that was very important. And when I noticed that she's not translating what I say,
yeah.
So I had to stop and say, "You are not saying what I tried to say." So
wow.
The person to the court say, "Oh, you speak English." Well, I speak English well, but I can understand she's not translating what I said. So this is very important. Good translation sometimes.
I love it. What a great example, Claudio. Yeah, I think especially for everybody, and again, I think I shared with my Reading 50, Irina heard me say, yeah, when I had to go to the doctor and speak in Spanish, I was so scared, right? It is if you're in court or police or doctor's office or something, then translation feels like life or death, right? It feels so important, and one word, one idea, one sentence can feel really lots of pressure, right? Lots of pressure. So great example. Thank you, Claudia, for sharing. And you're right. So even that can be kind of a special type of translation because you're right. I speak Spanish. I feel pretty good when I speak Spanish, but I don't know the legal term. You know what I mean? I don't know the vocabulary for law or for the courts or for a doctor. And that's where I think whether it's the Quran, whether it's the Bible, whether it's a book, whether it's a doctor's office, sometimes the meaning of one word is so important. And I think I'm going to keep going back to Mohammed's example. Sometimes the meaning of that word is not just the dictionary, right? It's the culture, how that word gets used in a specific culture or in a specific society or in a specific place and time. And that is hard. That is very, very hard.
I remember one thing. Last year I was with my son an appointment in US Davis Hospital.
Yes.
And they offered us an interpreter from Russian to English, and this interpreter was confused because special medical terminology. He couldn't find exactly translation. This diagnosis, or how it say, and
diagnosis.
Yes. It was so difficult, and it is so difficult.
Yeah.
To translate special words.
Yeah, love it. Fantastic. Great examples, you guys. Perfect examples. And such a great question from Marok, which is, the different types of translation. They are different, and that changes what we think is a good translation, right? Maybe if you read a poem and you're like, oh, that was a pretty good translation. But if you're in the doctor's office, you're like, I don't want I need perfect translation. I don't want just like pretty good. This is very important. So I think that's a really, really important idea. And Edith Grossman, she talks about this a little bit, but I do want to just say, right, mostly because this is a reading and writing class, I am sort of thinking about translation for reading and writing, right? So that's kind of the focus. But when we start to read, you will see she thinks about this idea a lot, right? Translating in different situations, different people, or the content, right? What's the thing you are translating? Like I said, I'll say it one more time. If you're translating a poem, that's different than translating someone who's sick at the doctor's office, right? Absolutely, absolutely. Great. So I know we talked about some of these just for a few minutes, but we have 15 minutes. I want to show you where everything lives in Canvas, how to do these assignments and all that good stuff. So even if you look at these and we didn't talk about your idea, or you disagree with everything she says here, that's totally fine. You don't have to agree with her. I just want to make sure you understand that these are kind of her ideas, right? These are her ideologies. These are some of the things that she's going to write about in the beginning. So here's what I want you to do. I'll go to the end here. So my goal, my suggestion, right? No due dates. So my suggestion is before next week, 9:10, before 9:10, if you can, do lessons 6 and 7. And if you do that pretty quickly and you feel like you want to continue before next week, you can go fast. You can keep going to lesson 8 and lesson 9. All of this stuff is already in Canvas for you, okay? So I'm going to show you where this lives in Canvas now. I'm going to close this. So again, you can get there many ways, but if you go to modules, and then if you go to module 2, you start with lesson 6. So here are the instructions, right, at the beginning. So for people who still don't have the book or are waiting for the bookstore, I understand. I'm thinking of Nejma and other people who asked. Right here, number 1, it says read the preface and introduction, and then I say PDF here. Click it. And when you click it, it will download to your computer, and here it is. Right? It will open for you. So you can open the file here. Then this second one is for most of the books we read this semester, I have recorded myself. Sometimes I'll do audio, sometimes I'll do video, but I have an audio file of me reading the part of the book out loud to you. So I'll just play it so you can hear.
Why Translation Matters by Edith Grossman.
Okay, so I'll tell you why I did this in a second, but this is here for you to use. You don't have to use it, but I think it might help you if you want. Also, I know this can be like a this can be like a podcast if you're cleaning or if you're doing something in the background. If you're driving and you want to listen to the ideas in the book instead of just sitting down to read, that's one option for you too. And then, so here's the PDF for you to look at and read. Here's the audio file of me reading. And then 3 says answer the questions below. And then you just click the take the quiz button. And then you've got some questions here. And these are just questions about this reading, okay? And you see most of them, lots of true, false, lots of multiple choice. This is not, the quiz is not supposed to fool you or trick you. It's really just like the syllabus quiz for the people who did that. It's a way for me to sort of like point you at the things I want you to remember from the reading. Okay, so I want 10 out of 10s for these quizzes, right? My goal is not to give you low scores, it's to help you understand the ideas from the reading, okay? Now, hold on one second. So that's quiz lesson number 6. Lesson number 7 is exactly the same. It's also about the preface and the introduction. So if you click here, you'll get the PDF, same thing for you to read. You'll get the audio file of me reading.
Why translation matters.
But you have something different to do. So this is lesson 7 is about vocabulary. So what I want you to do, I'll just read the instructions. So this lesson is a chance to practice learning and using vocabulary from the book. So in a Word document or in the text box below, so you can just type, I'll show you. Oops, sorry, I went back to 8. I'm sorry about that, you guys. We want lesson 7, not lesson 8, my bad. So when you click assignment, you can either type in a Word document, right? Or you can do a text entry. Text entry just means so that's what this means, right? You don't need to do a Word document. You can just type text entry and put it in here. But the instructions are, I want you to choose a word from the reading and include the page you read it on. Then just go online, copy and paste the definition of that word. You can go to, if you have a dictionary, if you have a website you like to use, whatever you want, right? But find a definition and then write an original sentence. For this activity, I want you to do this for just 5 new words. So here's an example, what it can look like. So on page 5, she uses this word moonlighted as a verb, very specific sort of cultural American word. And it's a verb. And if you look it up, it means to have a second job in addition to one's regular employment. So in the book, she says, oh, I was going to school and I was moonlighting doing this other work. And that means she was doing a second job. So I gave one for myself. When I was in graduate school, I moonlighted as a teacher's assistant at College of Alameda, right? So that's all I want you to do. You do this for 5 words. You choose the words. That's it. Questions about 6 or 7 so far? Okay, good. I'm happy. That hopefully means that I explained them and the instructions somewhat clearly. And then let's see. Oh, that we just did. I want to show you 8 and 9. And then 8 is the same, actually. 8 is another quiz. But it's, instead of reading the preface and the introduction, you're going to read chapter 1, and then you listen to me doing chapter 1 as well. Oops, that time it downloaded. And you'll take a quiz, right? So I'll go back to modules so I can actually be clear here. So just like it says here, lessons 6 and 7 are about the preface and the introduction. So like I said, before next week, I suggest 6 and 7. If you go fast, you can go to 8 and 9. 8 and 9 talk about chapter 1. And again, the PDF, the file for that chapter is on this page, and so is the recording of me reading it is on that page. And then lesson 9 is a discussion. So it's just a discussion that's about translation and culture for you to do. And that's it, I think. Any questions about lessons 6, 7, 8, and 9, instructions, how to do it, all that stuff? Questions? Oh, good. Okay, so then before we finish, we might finish even 1 or 2 minutes early here today, but there's just 2 quick things I want to say about this. It's like my advice, my recommendation. I'm like the teacher in the video saying 15 minutes a day. You know, I'm sort of giving you my advice here. So one thing I want to say, this book is going to feel difficult because there is a lot of academic vocabulary, okay? I'm just going to say that right now. You're going to see words you don't know. And what I really want you to do is to practice this feeling of don't stop and try to translate or look up every single word you don't know. I want you to just keep reading. Ideally means in a perfect world, for at least 15 minutes without stopping. Then when you finish after 15 minutes, stop and ask yourself, okay, what did I understand? This is a really, really good reading strategy, reading skill to practice, so that you start to get comfortable reading more texts like this in English, okay? So again, I'm not saying this to scare you. I'm just saying this actually to just let you know the truth and tell you it's normal, right? When you are reading and you go, oh my God, what is that word? Normal, 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 normal. So take 15 minutes, go slow. You have a whole week to read the chapter. You have me, you have my voice reading it with you. So I did want to say, why did I do this? So I recorded myself reading the chapters, and I strongly encourage you to listen to my voice while you read or if you reread something. And why did I do this? It's because when I'm reading the book out loud, I'm trying to speak in a way that you can understand the language, right? That's the way I try and speak when I'm doing these Zoom meetings too, right? Is I'm trying to speak to be understood. And I think sometimes when I'm reading, at least when I read in Spanish, I think, oh my God, like I have to read, I have to understand the language, I have to understand the new ideas, I have to understand all these things at one time. I think it's much easier when I'm talking to another person or when I'm talking to you for you guys to understand my meaning if I'm speaking to be understood. And I know that Susanna and Gloria will know this is like I was doing in my listening class. I think how a person tries to be understood really matters. So that's why I was reading out loud, is when I was reading it, I was imagining, I want to make sure that I'm reading this in a way that people can understand. So that's the way I read it. And then I recorded myself so that you can mostly just focus on the ideas in the reading instead of feeling like, oh my God, I have to understand every single word. And what was that grammar? And was that a noun phrase? And is that an adjective? And oh my, you know, try not to do that, right? Try not to do that so you can just focus on the ideas in the reading. That's it. Questions about this first section of the reading, questions about the assignments. Yes, please, Marok.
Yeah, when I read my book, sometimes I don't know some word about pronunciation.
Yep.
Please
Well,
tell
then,
me.
that'll be great. When you have, then put my recording on. You'll get to hear at least how a person from California will read every single word. And that's another reason I suggest, if you're reading and if you play me speaking, then you'll start to see, okay, that's how that word sounds. That's how that word is spelled. It's hard work to do this, right? It's hard work to listen to a person reading and then look at the screen, but I'm a big believer, amazing things happen. Like your brain, amazing things kind of happen in the brain when you hear the word as you're looking at the spelling, especially in English, because I know you all know spelling and pronunciation in English do not always go together. So that's another reason that I did the recording, is so that you can hear, so that you can what? Hear how it sounds while you're looking at the word. Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah. Or like I said, if you're bored and you're driving or something and you just want to listen, that's good too. And if you listen while you're looking at the text, that's good too. I mean, it's all good. I just want to give you options, right? As many options as possible to learn the new content. Other questions? Cool. Do your best. Go slow. You have a week, okay? I'll agree with the this idea about 15 minutes. If you can do 15 minutes a day, you'll grow. If you can do 30, you'll be great. So do your best. I'm here. I had office hours today, but so I have office hours this evening. So if you need to talk this evening, you can send me a message. Otherwise, you can send me an email if you have questions over the weekend or beginning on Monday next week. But enjoy, right? We're going to start reading and we're really going to start playing with some of the language here. So I hope you enjoy the ideas. So that's it. If you're going to go, if you're done now, goodbye. It was so good to see you. I know, Susanna, if you have some tech questions or you want to, if you have a question, you are so welcome, Claudia. Thank you for your great
good weekend, a long weekend.
Thank you. I enjoy. Oh, I know. On Monday, enjoy. Yeah, so if you're gonna go. If you want to stay and ask some questions, you're free to stay.
Thank you, Jeffrey. Have a nice
Bye-bye.
weekend.
Thank you. You too.
Bye.
Bye, Ruba. Bye, Gloria. Bye, Irina. Bye. Who else is leaving? Everybody.
Thank you so much.
Of
Thank
course,
you so
me
much.
too. Thank you, everybody, for everything
Bye.
you
Bye,
brought to the
Professor.
class. Bye, Masuma. Thank you.
Bye bye.
Professor.
Bye, Zamira.
Bye, Professor.
Bye, Mark.
Thank you, Jeffrey. I will try to open on my
Let's.
another computer, and if I can't found it, I will see. I will say you.
Perfect. If you're, I go to the lab. I go to the ESL lab at 2:45. So I'll be at the computer. If you still need, oh, I'm going to stop recording. Hold on.